Hello and welcome to the Football Breakdown. This is the Fantasy EFL preview show and it's game week 35. I'm Matthew South.
And I'm Ian Cooper.
Yes, hello and welcome everyone. We're in the final stretch of the season. The sun is out, the weather's great, the Grand Nationals this weekend. Lots to look forward to. Ian, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Like as you say, the weather's certainly helping the mood. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I was a bit ill last week, so I'm just about getting over that. So hopefully I sound a lot better on this pod. I'm off the back of an okay week as well in fantasy. If we dive into last week, I had a few solid returns, but I bottled a few of my picks, and after mentioning Poker on the pod, I didn't go for him and had to sit back and watch as him and Peterborough scored lots and lots of goals, which was a bit disappointing. But I had a few good returners. Lewis Brunt, 17 points, 0.1 pick. Oh, absolutely delighted. Dow Morgan Gillespie, 13 points. And then Allsop, Street and O'Connor, not the best of weeks. But the two teams I picked won both their games, which is just exactly what I needed. So 111 points just off of your total, I believe.
Yeah, I edged you there. I got 114 points, which is quite surprising. I had quite a lot of low-scoring players. So my goalkeeper defender pairing of Belshaw and O'Connor for Harrogate predicting 2-0-0s. The first game was decided on 2 penalties, so got a draw there, so that really hurt. And the second game was actually really entertaining. It was a 3-2 game against Tranmere, which I didn't see coming. So I got 5 points for Belshaw and 7 points for O'Connor. His clearance numbers were really down these two games, which is quite surprising. And my other defender was Alex Hartridge as my sub 0.1 pick. They lost 2-0 to Wrexham in the first game. Bit disappointed there. Didn't really have the clean sheet. The clearances either. Only had 6 clearances. But the second game, when they won 2-1 to Barnsley, which is what I was going for, had 14 clearances, 3 tackles, got 7 points there. So pretty happy with that one. As my captain pick was Christopher Clara. Birmingham didn't get the clean sheet in the first game at Shrewsbury, but he came off the minute before they conceded. So I managed to get 16 points off the captaincy and then got an extra 4 points against Bristol Rovers. So 24 points there. My midfield 2 I was really happy with. I did go Poku. I talked about Mothersill as my pick for the forward, but I needed to get Poku in there. I needed one Peterborough player and got 27 points to him. So would have been delighted to have him captain, but still very happy with 27 points. And George McEachran, he got me 11 points, and I believe 8 of them all came from interceptions. So you can see why he is the top interception player in League One. And as for my striker, as always, returned me 5 points over 2 games. It was Richard Kone. He was rich in form going into this. I was and ahhing. I was asking a lot on social media about who should go for, and I still stuck with him, but no, useless. So yeah, 5 points there. But I did get 16 points for Birmingham, and Grimsby won the first game. So I got 9 points there. So I won my bet. Sadly, they lost 2-0 to Crewe in the second game, which is really strange. Crewe were just a really weird side. I don't know how to predict them. But yeah, 114 points. Pretty happy with that in the end.
Yeah. It was kind of a week of returns last week. Another player I mentioned on the pod who was coming back was Mickey Dimitriou, and he had an absolutely outstanding week as well. Again, I also bottled picking that. In fact, like if I look down, even just like midfielders of game week points last week, Poku spoke about didn't pick. The Doncaster pairing of Gibson and Bailey, I wanted to get with Donny last week. Didn't pick either of them. They got 21 and 19 points. I went with Rob Street in the end after moving my team around, and he got 5. And another player who's just been really, really exciting recently and had another brilliant week was Kamari Doyle with 23 points. I've really, really wanted to get on board with him, but with the managerial change last week, I just hesitated slightly, and then they went to Rotherham and scored 4 goals, and he scored 2 of them. So there was a lot of technically I'm going to count that as a return, but the return was Scott Lindsay. So there's a lot of stuff, like a lot of moving parts in the game at the moment, which is really making it interesting. And I'm kind of coming into this week being like, right, who's coming back from injury, or who's making a return, and who can I side with? Because clearly people are just coming straight back in and hitting the ground running, which I think brings us on to our picks for this week. So it's a full double championship game week, and then there are 6 games in League One happening midweek as well. So 12 teams are on a double there. There's also just a single League Two game in midweek, so there's only 2 on the double. So we're going to ignore League Two this week, and we're going to do Championship and League One focus. So I think that's the best way to do it. I can't see many people picking League Two players going off of the rearranged game, which is Chesterfield versus Gillingham. So I will take us away this week with the Championship goalkeeper. An interesting one. I think that it's a tough one. I don't know how. Well, I guess you might talk similar with the defenders and going forward with like the Championship fixtures this week. There's nothing like clear cut stand out. Like like Burnley have 2 away games that certainly could be quite tough. So even though James Trafford is just a a clearance machine, it's certainly one where I'm looking at them going away to Coventry in particular. That could be a tough one away to Derby, but I'm still tempted by it. But I do have a number 2 goalkeepers who I'm favouring, and I'm just wondering if you would have picked a defender for either team to work out who I'm going to talk about. But I think I'm going to talk about Jamie Cumming for Oxford, which I think is an interesting pick. Like, you look at their fixtures, it's Sheffield United and QPR, but they're both at home. And here's the thing, Cumming has made the 2nd most saves in the league. He averages 3.28 saves a game, which is enough for the +2 bonus points. And that is what has led me here, because I've been clean sheet chasing recently and it backfired last week. So I'm kind of seeing if there's a way to just get on the saves this week. Sheffield United are not the biggest shot on target side away from home. Only one of the last 3 away games gave out bonus points to the keeper, but their last 5 home games would have given out bonus points. So they, if they can just carry that shot taking ability away from home, they will have shots on target for Cumming to save. And listen, I don't want him to concede, but I'm kind of after some points if he does. So I think they will cover the danger enough for some points here. They are also, Oxford kind of need a win here just to confirm their survival. I think they're going to go a bit more back to basics with Rowett and just dig their heels in and look to grind out some kind of result against Sheffield United. I think it's going to be a horrible game of football, and it's kind of going to favour the clean sheet chances here. The next one is QPR. They've lost 5 of their last 6. They've lost 6 straight away games. They've only scored 4 goals in their last 6 away games. But also 4 of their last 6 away games would have given out keeper bonus points too. So whilst they're not really scoring, they're having enough shots to make the keeper make saves. So I think there's a chance here of clean sheets and bonus points, certainly in that QPR game, and maybe some bonus points or a clean sheet in Sheffield United. I don't think we'll get both, but I think there's a good chance of points here for Cumming.
Yeah, okay, interesting. You've gone for the save points over the really focus on clean sheets. It's really hard to focus on clean sheets in the Championship at the minute. The fixtures aren't very favourable for that. Just out of interest, who was the other keeper that you would debate in there?
The other keeper who I might circle back around to later is Max O'Leary. Bristol City.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
6 clean sheets at home this season, and Watford failed to score in their last 2 away games. West Brom failed to score in their last away game, and not big shooters either. So I think there's a chance of the clean sheets in the O'Leary one, whereas I think there's a chance of saving the Cumming one. It's like, would you rather gamble it all on a clean sheet and lose it and know you're just going to get 2 points, which is kind of what I did last week with like Allsop, for example, where you just know you're not going to get the save points? Or would you rather just get up the save points and hope that maybe there's a clean sheet bonus on the end of that as well? So it's kind of like the way I've kind of come to that conclusion this week.
Yeah. So that was sort of my mindset going into the defenders as well. I'm pretty strong-minded of the thought that Derby defenders are the way to go at the minute. Their 3 centre-backs actually have 6 goal involvements between them in the last 4 games. They've become a real threat from set pieces, corners, long throw-ins. It's a real toss-up to select. But I'm going to go forward with Nat Phillips as my choice. Clark has more clearances in less games than Phillips, so it might be the way to go. But Phillips being 0%, I think there's a slight edge to siding with him, especially with throw-ins and corners. Phillips is the player who is contending for the first contact from either flicking the ball on target or across the 6-yard box. And this is where his assists have come from this season, due to being really powerful in the air. And it just so happens that his 3 assists have come from his last 2 games. A clear instruction that's coming from Eustace. But clean sheets aren't off the cards here, with Swansea failing to score in 3 of their last 5 games, and Liam Cullen only really being their main goal threat. The second game is against Burnley, which right now both teams are in form. It'll be a really intriguing game, and I just don't think it's going to be an easy ride for Burnley here. So I'm going for Nat Phillips, mainly actually more for the offensive points than defensive.
Yeah, I think that's a solid shout. I think Swansea. I was looking at the table at them earlier, and I was like, they're 5 points above Cardiff with 7 to go. They kind of need a win or two, but before they get dragged into it. But also, yeah, I can't see them really giving Derby much trouble, seeing as quite like Coventry and Preston didn't give them any trouble really either. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I do like the angle there, and as well, yeah, defenders who can contribute further up the pitch, always a good thing. Into the midfield then, and there is a returning player that has caught my eye. Jack Rodoni's back, and he scored off the bench last week, and he actually has 3 goals in his last 162 minutes of football, and his 2 games before that he got 2 assists. So, listen, I think he could be popping up in a few teams this week, but he's not my player. I did want to bring attention to him, but I'm actually going for a different angle this week. I'm going for Hamza Chowdhury. He has 36 points in his last 3 home games for Sheffield United. The only blank in his last 4 games came when Iain suggested him in the Sheffield derby. But he's had 15 interceptions otherwise around that. He's just shy of 3 interceptions per 90 at Sheffield United. They have Oxford away, as I kind of mentioned earlier, and Millwall at home. I just think that they're a team who, the way they play him with Chowdhury, he kind of either slotting in the defence or in the midfield. He's playing like all the football right now, pretty much. He's just getting these interception chances, and you got 8 in a 1-0 win at home to Preston. Like, I think Millwall are gonna be direct enough to give us those opportunities. I think Oxford are going to be direct enough to give us interception opportunities there. So I do think that Chowdhury is my preferred shout this week.
Yeah, I was looking at Chowdhury as to select him for my team this week, but after being stung against the Sheffield Wednesday game, I opted to not go for him. But he was definitely in my thoughts, so I can see why you've selected him there. And going for the forward pick, I actually am sticking with Sheffield United. I'm going for Tyrese Campbell. So unfortunately, both these picks that I've gone for so far would qualify for the sub 0.1 pick. But I have to put forward Tyrese Campbell this week, because I really do think he's the must-have forward in the Championship right now. Campbell has 10 goals this season, and since February has become Sheffield United's starting forward. Scoring 4 goals in his last 5 games has been crucial to United to stay in the race for their promotion fight. Campbell averages just under 3 shots per 90 and averages 0.7 goals per 90, which is the highest rate of goals per 90 across any striker in the Championship. First up is Oxford away, and I'm going to go against you here. They've only had 2 clean sheets at home in 2025, and they were against Watford and Blackburn, so I just think United's forward line is certainly a level above than these teams at the minute. And the second game is Millwall at home, who since their early form this season have really struggled against teams up the top of the table. So I fancy Campbell leaving his mark in this game too, and hopefully able to score more than the solitary goal, which has been a bit of a trend lately for him.
Yeah, he's been very, very good for a goal through the season so far. But yeah, it'd be nice to see him pop up with a few more. Sheffield United nearing promotion back to the Premier League. There's still a long way to go. But yeah, that rounds up our Championship picks then. Do you want to take us away with the League One goalkeeper?
Yeah, so when we started this pod, this goalkeeper was an EFL fantasy favourite. Matt, have you got any guesses of who I'm going to go for the goalkeeper in the League One?
EFL fantasy favourite? I know a few names that come to mind. The first one is Whitworth. We haven't spoken about him in a while. It is Whitworth.
It is Whitworth. He's been forgotten about recently, but his performances are still strong. He's clocked up 14 clean sheets in 39 appearances. Exeter have kept 2 clean sheets in their last 3 home games. The main thing about the selection is Exeter having 2 home games where they are noticeably stronger. First up is Stockport, and you may look at the 2-0 loss to Wrexham to put you off this pick, but Stockport's away form isn't as strong as you may initially think. only winning 2 of their last 6 away games and only scoring twice in one of those games. And the second game is against Wigan, who very much struggle in front of goal away from home and are currently looking over their shoulder with some teams below them showing some capability in picking up points, and they're going to be hunting teams like Wigan down. So I'm slightly worried about them at the minute, so I'm going for Whitworth in goal here.
Very nice, yeah. Into the fence then, and I'm going to focus on Leyton Orient. They have 2 fixtures this week against Wigan and Mansfield. The Wigan game is at home, and Leyton Orient have only conceded in 3 of their 11 home games against bottom half sides. We were at one of those games. They conceded twice to Northampton. They weren't great that day, but Wigan themselves have failed to score in 8 of their 18 away games. 3 of their last 5 they failed to score. I do kind of think that they don't have the attacking prowess of, you know, a lot of the teams. Certainly like Northampton, the way Northampton played, I can't see Wigan playing that way either. I do think there's a big clean sheet chance here at home for Orient. Their second game is Mansfield, who have blanked at home in 6 games this season. 4 of their last 7 at home they haven't scored. So yeah, straight away I was kind of drawn to Orient's 2 fixtures and the options in defence. Daniel Happ has returned. He got 4 points against Burton last week, 6.3 point average on the season, but he does have low clearance numbers. His like contributions have kind of come from, you know, him kind of being a threat in the opposite box, which has decreased, certainly with Omar Beckles also out injured. Jack Curry, 3 tackles and clearances a game. It's a nice variation. Been part of 14 of their clean sheets. But the player I've landed on is Edmonds Green. Now, he is, Romani Edwards Green, he is an interesting one because if you look at his point average, it includes his games for, I think it was Charlton as well as...
Charlton, yeah.
Yeah, as well as Orient. So his point average isn't actually as high. But for Orient, he actually has a 6-point average since joining in January. He has 9.45 clearances a game. So you're looking at an extra 3 bonus points there. So I think with the high clean sheet chance, the clearance numbers, Edmonds Green is actually a really good option. He should certainly be starting both games alongside Daniel Happ this week. And I think with Happ back in defence, they look more solid. But Edmonds Green is the one I want to side with.
Yeah, nice. I can see why you've gone for a Leyton Orient defender. I was looking at them as my team selection. So yeah, I was looking at the fixtures. It's well aware of what they're going into this game week. And for the midfield pick, I'm going to go for Charlie Savage of Reading. So first of all, he has come off a really high scoring week, but I've made sure that's not the sole reason to include him in my pick. His per 90 stats are really solid. Managing 2 shots is really impressive, especially when he's got teammates like Nibs and Wing who are also really high shot takers. Savage also is very creative, creating 1.4 chances per 90. And he also has popped up with 2 interceptions per game lately too. As the season's progressed, Savage is really starting to look like an all-round sort of midfielder where fantasy favourites Albie Morgan and Lewis Wing have thrived from this season and scoring points from multiple avenues. And Savage is starting to become an option for these two. So I'm looking for him this week.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that pick. I think he's a really solid option. Someone who I tried to get with earlier in the season, and then he's kind of, you know, had a bit of a quiet spell. Certainly worth being back on the radar now. League One attacker then, a position that we've kind of struggled with every single week. So I think I'm going to just try and play it a bit safe. I'm going back to Leyton Orient. I'm taking Charlie Kelman. It was kind of when I was writing all my notes up earlier, I completely missed the point that I'd just gone double Leyton Orient in League One. So, but Kelman has 4 goals and assists in his last 4 games for Orient. He's kind of he really is their best output right now. He's their best attacking threat. He has that work rate. He takes shots. He really is the thing. He is the player keeping them in playoff contention right now. I was following along with the midweek action, and that final playoff place is really interesting. There was a point where Orient were actually beating Burton, and results elsewhere meant they were going to end the day in 6th. They then turned around and lost, and they ended the day in like 10th. So it's that kind of tight area right now. Orient know that these are 2 must-win games against bottom half sides who basically are going to be on the beach. So Yeah, I think Orient is a way to look this week. Kelman up front. The only other player I was gonna mention is Abraham Odo off the back of a hat trick. He actually has a goal and 3 assists in his last 3 home games as well, and I think Borough are double home this week, so certainly more to his game than just that hat trick last week. He's someone who ages ago on the pod, we actually both said, or I don't know if it was on the pod or offline, we kind of wanted to. We're waiting for him to take off so he could get into a team. Well, he has taken off, but unfortunately we're like a week late. So, as usual, but yeah, Odo is an option, but I think Kelman feels like the safer option of the two. So moving into our 0.1% selections, you'll know the drill by now. We've got to pick a player each who is selected by 0.1% of players or less, and we have to have them in our team for the week. So we're going to lock them in now. I am going for Will Forrester from Bolton Wanderers. He averages over 10 clearances in his last 7 starts for Bolton. He has two favourable games in my opinion this week. The first one is Bristol Rovers at home. They've failed to score in 6 of their last 7 away games. They've only had more than 10 shots once in that time, and in fact since December against top half sides away from home they averaged just 3.6 shots. So I genuinely think the clean sheet is just so written into this game, and the clearance numbers that he'll get as well can just bolster those points up. He can be a threat in the other box. A few of their defenders can. They have rotated a bit. Chris Farino scored in the week, so his 18-point return against Wigan was eye-catching too, but I don't think he's going to score a goal all the time to boost that up, so Forrester's the one I kind of landed on with those extra clearance numbers and defensive actions. Yeah, I think the Bristol Rovers clean sheet should come in. Their second game of the week is at home to Rotherham. They failed to score in 6 of their 10 away games against top half sides as well. So even though under Schumacher Bolton are quite open, I think that certainly the Wigan game might have taught them a lesson that if they're the best way for them to get promoted right now or into the playoff places might just to grind out these results and make sure they finish in that top 6. So yeah, I'm happy to get one of their defenders on side, and Forrester's the one I've gone for. He's 0% selection, so yeah, I'm happy with that.
Nice. And for my sub-0.1 pick, we've mentioned a Sheffield United forward, we've mentioned a midfielder. I'm going to mention a defender. I'm going to go in for Femi Siriki. He's come in and started the last 3 games at right back. That's mainly due to Harry Clark being injured. And he's actually done really well. He's averaged, I think, 9 points a game in those last 3 games. I just basically picked him because he's part of a really strong Sheffield United defence where they might be carrying him a little bit more. He's quite a prolific dribbler with the ball. In his last 2 games, he's had a shot inside the box and has created a key chance every game in his last 3 games. And in his last game, he got an assist as well. So coming off some pretty good form. I just like it when I find a player who's sub-0.1 pick, who's right at the top of the table when playing for one of the best teams. So there's a slight risk where he might not play both games, but with him recently playing all 3 games, I'm pretty confident he's going to play both these games here as well.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I'd imagine he will keep up playing there with Chowdhury playing in the midfield instead. Certainly their midfield issues, kind of nice to have that cover. So yeah, solid pick. Yeah, like you say, it's nice to pick a player who's kind of towards the top teams. Even Forrester, you get a centre back who plays for Bolton, who are playing quite well at the moment for 0%. Is there like, yeah, I'll take it every day of the week.
I will say the last time I said this, it was about Chowdhury and he returned me 2 points, but I'm pretty confident it can happen twice.
Yeah. You can, you go straight back into a Sheffield United one as well. In particular, like surely the luck won't strike again. So, yeah, we'll give you a quick rundown of our teams as they stand. Ian, do you want to walk me through yours?
Yeah, so for my team, I'm sticking with a formation of 3-2-1, and I've got Joe Whitworth in goal. I've got 3 defenders in Nat Phillips, and then Femi Siriki as my sub-0.1 pick. And the final pick for the defender was Josh Dackery's Cogley, playing right wing back for Bolton. I was on with the Bolton theory. He's got 6 assists this season. He's the sort of main outlet in the team, especially in defence. So picked him for that reason. Midfield 2, I've had to go for Quayne Poku again, and I've gone for Josh Brownhill as his midfield partner. 2 away games, but he's just such a clutch player, especially on penalties as well, and he's able to pick up interceptions. Pretty happy with that pick. And then following up front, I've gone Tyrese Campbell.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, in goal, I currently have Jamie Cumming, and then my first defender is Luke McNally for Bristol City. I am tempted to go O'Leary and Hellick instead. I don't want to double up on either side, but I want to get with both sides. So that's just my thought process at the moment. Edmonds, Green, and Forrester finish out my defence. Also going 3-2-1 this week. I think it's just the best formation really. It's defenders that I just feel like you just feel like a safer pick, more likely to get some points there. Midfielders relying a bit too much on other stuff. But my midfield pick also going Kwame Poku after suggesting him and then not going with it last week. Straight back in for him this week. I'm going to partner with Hamza Chowdhury, as mentioned earlier. And then up front right now, it is Charlie Kelman. So the first game of the game week is tonight. We're recording on the Friday this week. So it is Blackburn versus Middlesbrough tonight. Neither of us have any players from either team in ours. No. So 12:30 tomorrow at the moment is when I'm looking for to lock in. So keep up to date with our selections on our socials at FVBD Pod on X and at Football Breakdown on Bluesky. And then we are going to finish the show off with our teams to win. As always, myself and Ian will place a £5 bet on our 2 teams to win their first games of the game week. So that part specifically is for over 18s only. Please gamble responsibly. But in general, our teams to win are free for everyone to hear. So I will kick us off this week with our teams to win. I'm taking Bolton Wanderers, as kind of mentioned under the Forrester pick, similar with your, I know you have Bolton Wanderers defender as well. I just think they are a team with 2 home games that I feel safest over potentially winning 2 games here. Certainly that Bristol Rovers game should be a 9-point game in my opinion. They should be scoring 2 goals against them. They should be keeping a clean sheet against them. So yeah, a big pull of the game week. And my second one, I feel like it's a part of the show where we have to we're saying offline after the pod, basically we're locked in on our 0.1 and our 2 teams to win, and it's kind of like you can make any other changes, but we can't turn these around for the sake of the pod. I am going with Chesterfield. I'm dipping into League 2 and I'm going to take Chesterfield to beat Tranmere and Gillingham. I think that Chesterfield's mini recent revival has been after looking like they were completely out of it. A few weeks ago, they were out of the playoffs. That was it, done and dusted. And Paul Cook basically said we have to win every game from now to the end of the season to make the playoffs. Well, they've won all bar one of those games. They won 5 of their last 6 games. They go away to a Tranmere side. Chesterfield have been really good away from home all season. They've won all 4 games against the bottom 2 sides. So Tranmere are the team above them. They beat them as well earlier in the season. So I'm backing them to do the double over Tranmere here, even though it's away from home, even though Tranmere kind of have something to play for. I think Chesterfield are just going to be too good for them. Their other game is against the Gillingham side, who, while they're not 100% safe, if results go their way this weekend, they'd probably be near enough safe by the time they play them midweek. And I know they've got Ainsworth in, but I think Chesterfield are just going to have too much for them. They really they've been winning these games recently against good teams, against bad teams, against whoever, and I just think that I want to get with them while they've won 5 of their last 6. So yeah, Chesterfield for me, and my double on both teams returns £16.49.
Nice. So yeah, this week I feel like I can go a little bit safer after winning my bet last week. I managed to get a return of £22 with Birmingham and Grimsby coming in. So yeah, going to go a bit safer. I'm going to go for 2 teams with a similar theme of they've still got a lot to play for. They really need to get results. They're both in promising positions. So the first team is Bolton. 2 home games with Bristol Rovers and Rotherham. I see them with quite favourable games, but they are occupying that last playoff spot, and there's quite a bit of a gap to 5th there. So it seems like it really is about I'd argue five teams that are all vying for that last spot. So Bolton really need to take their advantage of these fixtures and win both their games. They're going to go for Bolton there. The second game, I'm going to go for Sheffield United. We've basically mentioned their whole squad this pod, so it feels like it's quite fitting to go for them here. Obviously, their first game is away to Oxford. Oxford in poor form, but with Oxford looking at relegation over their shoulder, I do see the game being quite bitty, which is why I'm hoping for Tyrese Campbell to secure a goal there and get the result. The second game is against Millwall, who are just so interesting. They really can't get a run of form going where they can win 2 games consecutively. Luckily, they lost their last game to Sunderland, so if they do win, it will be against Portsmouth, so they'll be due a loss against Sheffield United there. So that's where my thought process is there. The table's so close at the top. They do have that 2-point gap, but they really can't afford to drop any more points, especially if Leeds dropping points last week. So yeah, going to go for Bolton and Sheffield United, which my £5 returns me £12.84.
Very nice, yeah. Yeah, and just looking at the table here, I think Millwall are really interesting because they're 6 points off of that last playoff place. And in my head, that's actually closer than I thought they were. And I know when you're at the top, it's like you expect more teams to win more games, so 6 points actually feels like quite a lot. Whereas at the bottom, like QPR in 15th, who are only 2 places below Millwall, are only 5 points off of relegation. And that doesn't feel like, that doesn't feel like a lot because
Really,
one win and one win and you're straight back in there. So Millwall, it's like, should they lose at the weekend, I'm always there like, well, you're the first team in the league to basically be done and dusted. Yeah. And then closely followed by Preston just below, who are their gap to the playoffs is too big. They're 7 points ahead of relegation. In my head, that's enough. But just to be sure, if they get one more win, then they are also in that club of, we're on the beach. So
and let's be honest, that's a great result for Millwall going into the season. Like they would take it, but I just hope they don't then become the upsets. What else is going on in the league? If you're on the beach, please stay on the beach. Don't turn up and deny me a win against.
Yeah, please lose every single game between now and the end of the season so I can keep picking against you.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, well, that brings us to the end of the show this week. Thank you all for listening. Do follow us on those social links. They'll also be down in the description. Our link to our league is also in the description if anyone still wants to join that. Notice a few latecomers joining and going straight to the top of the league, which is great to see. having some good competition in there. But yeah, do enjoy your weekend, everyone, and thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Matthew.
And take it easy.